Hey, and welcome to episode 17 of Kingdom Business TV. Super excited that you would join me at this time. Appreciate it. For the next little while, we're going to be talking all things business, cash flow, marketing, sales, systems, and faith, Bible, Jesus, all that sort of fun stuff. And on this show, which is super exciting, I'm giving stuff away, right? People that have questions on the show, I am going to be asking you which book you would like, and then we are going to post this out to you. Why? Because I just love giving stuff away. I appreciate you guys watching. Cameron, thank you. Noelia, thank you. Rachel, thank you. You guys are great. When you jump on, just go and put a comment in the comments box for me, letting me know where you're from. I want to know in which part of this wonderful country do you call home. So make sure that you put that in the comments box. All right. I've got a bunch of stuff to teach around scripture, around business in general, but I want questions from you. All right. So Leah, appreciate you dialing in all the way from New Zealand. New Zealand is actually one of my favorite places in the whole world. In fact, Queenstown is my favorite city in the world. And I will be over in your wonderful country, I reckon, at least 3 or 4 times in 2019 because you guys are great. Maddie Garrett, thanks for joining. Craig Holland, appreciate you. Well, maybe it's Cassie, but you're in as Craig, so we'll see. Stephen Croxon, all the way from Perth, West Australia. You guys are such a blessing to me. Remember, when you jump on, let me know. Now, here's what I want from you, though. I want you to send a message to the Business Greenhouse Facebook page, right? If you're on a device right now, you have to hit the minimize button at the top left. That'll drop it down small, and then you can just send us a message. I want your questions. Please understand, there is no stupid question, okay? It can be a small issue in your business. It can be a big issue in your business. I just want to be here as a resource to help you grow your business, because when we have more profitable businesses, we have a well-funded kingdom, and the two go hand in hand. And to give you an ethical bribe, I'm going to give you a business book and physically post this to you when you jump on here and ask a question, and I can help you out. All right? Ben, thank you. You're awesome. Jane Stubbs dialing in. That's so good. Karen Rees all the way from Bendigo. Got to tell you, Bendigo is a beautiful city. Been there a bunch of times. Probably going to come back a few times this year. Absolutely love that place. So yeah, I really appreciate you guys. So what I want you to do, Chum Creek, Victoria. What a beautiful spot. Because it's not too far from the high country, and therefore there's skiing. Elizabeth from Brizzy, appreciate you dialing in. So I need questions from you. That's the deal, right? This is a question show. You ask a question, I give you my 2 cents. That question then goes out to the world, and it's going to help more people. So you are in fact helping people when you ask a question on here. Let's look at some scripture, right? Because at the end of the day, it's all pointless if we don't include our God. All right, so what can we learn from scripture that we can apply to business? And while I'm writing this, you think of your question and send us a message. All right, one of my favorite Bible characters, and my favorite probably changes every week, but at the moment and for quite a long time, one of my favorite dudes is Nehemiah, right? Now, what do we know about old Neo? His job was to rebuild the temple. He took it upon himself. He went and sought permission. They gave him permission, and he was building it. What they didn't realize was that after he started building it, they wanted to take him out because they didn't want the temple. Okay? And so up to the point where we are reading, they're trying to kill him. Right, so they keep inviting him back out to these random places out in the desert because they want to kill him, but he's smart enough to work it out, doesn't go, and keeps confounding their stupidity. But here's an interesting part, right? He's just confounded them one more time, and then he says this. So we're going to go to Nehemiah 4, We'll go to 16. That way we don't cover any redundant things from what I just said. 16 says this. So it was from that time on that half of my servants worked on construction, building the temple, on the wall, while the other half held the spears, shields, and bows and wore armor. And the leaders were behind all the house of Judah. 17. Those who built on the wall and those who carried burdens loaded themselves so that with one hand they worked at construction and with the other held a weapon. Every one of the builders had his sword girded to his side as he built. And the one who sounded the trumpet was beside me. So, what can we learn? So Nehemiah in this scripture is always prepared for battle. Him and his team, always prepared for the battle, okay? In this particular case, it's a physical battle. He had a physical opponent who was coming after him to try and take him out. It goes on to say, we'll let God fight the battle. You know, when we come under attack, it goes on to say, when we come under attack, we're going to meet at this point. You'll hear the horns. We're going to come together and God is going to take them out, right? Huge amount of faith. And so we need more of that. But here's the thing, fast forward to 2019. How do we do that? See, spiritual warfare in 2019 is not a physical battle anymore, right? It's a spiritual battle, which is why so many people don't bother with it, which is why so many people get ripped off by the enemy because they're not fighting, because it's not a tangible, right? It's not somebody running at them with spears or guns. And so this spiritual warfare just takes a back seat because there's too many other things to deal with. Not for Nehemiah. Nehemiah was the man who was prepared. And so here's what I'd say to you now, right? It's a spiritual battle, and the weapons that we use are different to the ones that Nehemiah used. We use the word of God. We use prayer. We stand down the enemy, and it's insanely powerful when you understand who you are and whose you are, and you start to walk in that authority. Let me put it in perspective. We would usually draw an org chart for an organization, right? An organizational chart, it's the hierarchy, it's the reporting, it's the structure. Well, if we were to do an org chart of heaven, right, we have been placed above principalities and powers and darknesses as a co-heirs to Christ. Well, you can't get a better deal than that. But you've got to exercise that position, okay? So that's the baseline of our spiritual warfare. We stand the enemy down, not because of our own amazing gifts, not because we've done a good job this week. We stand the enemy down because Jesus already won the battle and now we can walk in that victory. But we have to proclaim it. We have to silence the enemy. We have to take dominion. And then you will see that the enemy has less place to muck around in your life. And you will see that things get easier sometimes. You'll start to get provision that you weren't getting. There'll be a flow that's a little bit easier that you potentially weren't seeing. And that is what's going on. But it's not going to happen, right, by throwing up a 3-minute prayer. It's going to happen by, constantly learning, constantly understanding the victory that we've got, and then standing the enemy down, seeing it, calling him out, standing him down, silencing him, and then you will find that things get a little bit better. I would even go so far as to say to you, right on here, in front of 16 million people, just prophesying, that I reckon the greatest contributor to my success in business is because I learned how to stand the enemy down. I think that's probably it. That I'm going to give all glory to God in that area and say it's because of his victory and because I walk in that victory that I have had most of my success in business. Guys, I want your questions, all right? Whatever your question is, big question, small question, doesn't really matter. Send a message to Business Greenhouse. We'll reach out to you and we will get you on the show. And I'm going to give you some stuff. All right, so I believe, Craig, we've got a question. All right. Do we have a name?
Yep.
Karen.
Hello.
Karen, it's Wez Hone. You're on Kingdom Business TV.
How are you, Wes?
I am salubrious. How are you?
Oh, pretty good today. Pretty good.
Good stuff. All right, what can I help you with, Karen?
We're just heading into the start of a retail business, starting sort of at the start of April. And I was just wondering what your top marketing tips would be for the time in between now and launching the business and letting know the public on Facebook and in the media that that's happening. So from the initial point of letting them know to the actual shop opening.
Brilliant. What's the product? What are you retailing?
It is hunting, camping, fishing.
Ooh, good stuff. Okay. All right. Well, my first thought, of course, is that now is a wonderful time for you to start to build a database. Is your website live?
We're sort of in with another company, with an overseeing company that's looking after it all. So their website's live, but it's not a franchise, but it's another shop venture does that make sense? It's not a franchise, but
vaguely.
It's
So
like
is that a no? Like you don't have a site we can grab
No,
details
well,
from?
there's a live website that you can go to the main company, but there's not a website for the actual shop,
Okay.
the location that we're at the moment.
Will you have one that's only for your location?
No.
Okay.
No, I'll be joint.
Okay, that's fine. So what I'd be doing is I'd be somehow driving as much traffic as I can to that website and gathering people's information, right? So that when you go live, because basically, right, all you need is a massive audience. Like the bigger the audience you get, the minute you turn the tap on, the faster start you'll get. So whether that be driving people to a web page to fill in a request, maybe you could ask for an email address and say, listen, by giving us your email address, you're going to be you're going to be invited to the launch party, right? There we go. So you go, come to this, find out about us through Facebook, go to the website. If you want to be invited to our launch weekend or open weekend, however you want to word it, drop your email in here and we're going to send you VIP tickets to our launch. That's what's in it for somebody to want to give you their email address, right? Okay. Now, if what you would also want to be doing is getting the people that run that site to pixel the website, Facebook pixel, so that you can find out everybody that goes to that standalone page for your location, and you need to be able to remarket to the people that went to your page location. Because the minute it's live, you need to start remarketing products to those people. Yeah. Now, in the meantime, so what have you got? You got 3 to 4 months of time before you're ready. Is that correct?
A month and 2 months.
2 months. Okay, good. I mean, if it were me, I would start giving out absolutely insane value, right? So I'd be writing articles on, whatever, the fish that you can catch in the Australian high country at this time of year, or, how to teach a kid how to build a fire, or, the difference between a $20 fishing rod and a $200 one. I mean, I don't know the answer to that stuff, but I would start telling people, I'd be building so much value into people that they would want to know how they can find more. And then all that's doing is giving you a running start from day one. Obviously, if you wait till the shop opens and then you start doing that, you've got a 3-month lag before it kicks in. So I tell you what, who does this concept really well is Apple, right? For all their faults about making overpriced, under-promised technology, they do a really good job of building, like teasing the market, and then bang, they're running with their products. And you could effectively do the same thing. And it's so cheap and easy to do now, right? If you've got 8 weeks, you should probably come up with 16 to 20 valuable bits of information and flood the market with it. Driving people to that website once it's ready, or even if the one that's there now, driving people to that site, and then asking them to opt into something. Because if you can build an email list now, then basically, the first product you've got that's a great offer, you can start emailing those people with that. But what I wouldn't, I mean, if it were me, I would just go on a journey of insane amounts of value. I'd be spending all my time producing content, video, written, photos, tutorials. I would spend all my time making as much of that as I can, flooding the market with it so that everyone's like, what is this new thing? And then when they get there, they can't do anything with it. They're like, far out. And on the website, you have a countdown, right? So that every day they go back, they're going closer and closer and closer. And then 1 week out, you tease them, and 5 days out, 4 days out, 3 days out, bang, you've got an opening, and then people will know you. That's that's how I'd be doing it. You know, I mean, it's no different to how I would say somebody needs to, you know, get serious about building a dental business or a car manufacturer. It's the same concept. You know, one of your limitations is the website, but I, you know, if they allow you to have the data, the pixel data, right, of the people that go to your page, then you're home and hose, because you'll get thousands of people go to the page and you can remarket to them, do a lookalike against them, and then you'll probably have access to something like 200,000 people in Australia from day one that you could market to. So but don't sell anything. Don't sell anything for now. Let's just give an insane amount of value to people, and then it teases them. They want what you've got.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, that sounds great. Thanks, Wes.
I've got some books here, right? So you get to choose.
Yep. Oh,
I have, yes. So I have in front of me The Barefoot Investor for Families. That's really good if you've got kids. I've got a marketing book by Seth Godin. Yeah. I've got a book on how to systemize a business. I've got a book on how to find your internal passion, and a book on how to build values and team culture. Which one would you like?
Oh, I might go for The Barefoot Investor.
Great.
Kids for family. People have a family.
Wow.
High on the priority list.
That's good. All right, Karen. Craig will grab your details through Messenger and have this sent out to you probably tomorrow.
All right, lovely. Thank you, Wes.
Bless your heaps, Karen. Bye-bye. Awesome. Colin, thank you for joining in. Isaac, Michael, Daryl, Mr. Eastgate. So out of that question, what was the bit that popped for you? I want you to put a comment in the comments box for me. What was the bit that popping? What was popping for you out of that? What was the bit that was like, I could use that in my business? All right, Ainsley dialing in. Appreciate you dialing in. Thank you for your time. We have another caller, right? So let's get this next caller dialing in and let's see if we can help them. And we're going to give them some books. Matt.
Good afternoon, this is Matt.
Matt, it's Wez Hone. You're on Kingdom Business TV.
Hey, Wes.
How are you, mate?
Kingdom. Going well.
What can I help you with?
Just got a question on Facebook campaigns releasing content over the last 12 months or so. I've had about 4,500, Facebook are telling me that I have 4,500 interactions, liked my page, watched 3 seconds of a video, all of that, about 4,500 people in that list. My plan is to market content or release content to those 4,500 and a lookalike list in my local area to concentrate and I guess bounce off their already they've already interacted with me in some form, so remarket to them. On a tight budget, would you just keep marketing to those, or would you go out to the broader market as well?
Yeah, good question. I would probably filter that 4,500 down to a smaller group. So instead of looking at who watched 3 seconds, I'd go who watched 10 or 25%. And I would, and that might drag you right down from 4,500 to 1,000. I don't know what that number would be, but you know, I think the 3 second video view is a bit of a trap because people can do that by accident. 10 seconds, they're probably not going to, right? Or 25% of your video. So I would go to that group, and that's where I would invest. Then I would do a lookalike against the smaller group to get a tighter picture and then market to those people. The strategy is just as much what you're going to say though as who you're going to say it to. So I would get my 4,500 down a little bit and then do a lookalike against them. That would be my strategy for reach. But what are you going to say to them? What, for the sake of the audience, why don't you say what industry you're in?
Yeah, so I'm in financial advice. So my target market is business owners. So I have 12 scripts. Half of them I've recorded. I've got another 6 to go. Just money basics for business owners. So what's super, what's insurance, what's debt.
So
how all of those
here's how
topics relate to business.
Here's how I may challenge that a little bit, right? Because that stuff that you've just listed is really valuable and really good information. But I feel like, we might be getting to the point on Facebook where it needs to have, shock factor or something pretty extreme, esoteric to be able to have cut through. So I would be interested. Now, I don't know the legalities of this, and I probably wouldn't care until after the fact anyway. But I would be inclined to say, the Royal Commission have ripped you off, right? Or the major banks have lied for so long and you lost. And then I'd go on to give my 2 cents on what the Royal Commission means. And you could go on to say, the positive spin on it, but I kind of want to shock people into paying attention to what you say. So, to do that, we should throw somebody under the bus, right? Because then, and as long as that's honest and legit and real, that somebody has been doing the wrong thing, I think it's okay to call it. And by calling it, we're probably going to get the attention of the people. So, it might just be that your Facebook post reads, "Attention small business owners, you work too hard, to throw it all down the toilet thanks to the major banks," and then go on to say whatever. To me, the creative is as important as the reach of who you're going to go to. So I just don't want you to go, "Yep, I'm going to go to this audience with my normal message." I think you've got to step it up a real notch here to have cut through. There's a guy called Harry Dent. I don't know the guy. In fact, I'll probably never watch a video or read any books of his, because all he is the doomsday talker, right? Doomsday, like, to the T. Like, no matter what's going on in the world, he'll find a way of saying it's all going to collapse and you need to buy my books to fix it. Now, I'm only using him as an example. He's not right, but because he's pushing against the goads, observe the masses and do the opposite, right? So he's been able to afford himself a niche in that space because he was different. Now, I'm not suggesting his strategy was right, or his topics were right, but his strategy was pretty good. So I think you just want to be thinking through, what can I say that's true but shocking? Can I uncover some truth, right? Whatever. Because there's so much fear going on around financial planning and the Royal Commission and the Hane inquiry and all that stuff, that somebody needs to go and tell the truth. Somebody needs to be able to speak to small business owners and say, forget everything you've read in the Australian. Here's what really happens, right? And then I think that's going to have some cut through.
Yeah, for sure.
But I don't think, and then...
Obviously doing it in a legal way.
Yes, and so all those other things you talked about, debt management, investing, that's what I would remarket to the audience that engage with my high-level content.
Yeah, okay.
So I'd push out this high-level content, get that to go slightly viral because it's valuable, and then whoever engaged with that, I'll be going, here's a piece on debt, come back to my website to look at some debt advice. Here's a piece on whatever, superannuation changes, come back to my website, look at superannuation changes, right? Because you keep driving them back, at some point they're going to call you.
Yep.
Now, you're a book reader? Are you a bit of a bookworm?
Bit of probably more of a book listener, but if it's a...
Well, I'm not reading it to you, Matt.
I'll get into it.
I've got a couple of books here to choose from. We've got Who Moved My Cheese, Culture. We've got Grit, about finding your passion. We've got the E-Myth, about systemizing. And we've got Seth's book on marketing. Which one would you like?
Let's go with the culture one.
Ooh, Who Moved My Cheese? It won't take you long to read it. But one of the traps is that people think a small book hasn't got less value. But the truth is, you ponder this book, it'll change your life. All right.
Yeah.
Matt, you're awesome. Bless you heaps. Catch up soon.
Certainly will, buddy. Bye.
Very good. Very, very good. All right, do me a favor, you guys who are on. You are sticking with me. Appreciate it. I want you to hit the share button for me, though, right? I want you to share this out. When you're on your device, whether you're on your laptop, whether you're on your phone, see there's a share button there. If you hit that, it pushes the show out to more people. And it means that I can achieve my outcome of changing culture in this country, right? Because we're not going to do it with a few. We've got to do it with many, many, many. All right, where are we at with, do we have any more calls? We do? All right. Let's get caller number 3 through and we'll get that question answered. Who do we have? In less Spanish?
Craig.
Hello, it's Kathy speaking.
Hey, it's Wez Hone. You're on Kingdom Business TV.
Hi, how are you going, Wes?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, doing well, thank you.
Awesome. What can I help you with?
So we've been contemplating moving to a business premises. We can't rent from our own home. We have 2 team members, 3 technicians, including my husband and an administration officer and myself. Seems to be outgrowing our home. But I've started looking into premises to rent and just find it astronomically huge amount, but I just don't know if we can afford it, or how do we go from doing what we're doing now to actually being able to, or how do we plan for it really? So how do we plan the numbers so that we can get to a point where we can actually move out?
Good. Give me some context. What's a rent going to be to you? Like, what's a monthly rent payment if you were to move?
They've said about $3,000 a month, I think, plus GST, plus overheads, I think.
Plus outgoings.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the revenue of your business on an average month?
We've just done 75,000 in a quarter.
It's 25 grand a month.
About 25 grand. That's the first time we've hit that. Prior to that, it was sitting at about 20 grand.
Congratulations to you. That's great. You can't afford it yet. That's the short answer. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't move out, but that seems like a very high amount of money to me for a fairly small team. So I think the name of the game for you is, I mean, I always champion getting out of your own home, right? I love running at home, but at some point we've got to make that change, because actually running from home saves you money in the short term, costs you a ton of money in the long term, because when you move out, you take your business more seriously and so forth, right? So it's a good idea to go at home, keep the overhead down, but at some point it's actually costing you money. So I'd be saying jump. Now on the, I mean, you're a growing business, right? So that's a cool sign. On the kind of revenue you're talking about here, I'd be spending between $1,000 and $1,500 a month on a premises. Now, how do you do that? You've just probably got to go and find something half of the size that you were looking at, you know, or put the word out to say, listen, because there would be heaps of businesses in your area who aren't using all the space that they're in. So, you know, you might have the opportunity to jump into them, right? That they may be renting a $4,000 place, and you could rent some of it for $1,500 a month, for example. So you could just put the call out on Facebook and say, hey, listen, we need some space. This is our budget. What have you got? And you'll find people. But I reckon if you were to spend 1 year, for example, in a $1,000 to $1,500 a month place, then your 25 grand revenue could very well be 40 to 50 grand revenue in a year if you keep growing. At 50 grand, can you spend 3 grand on rent? It's still tight for me. But you know, what spending 3 grand would allow you to do is probably go from 25 grand a month to 40 grand a month to 60 grand a month to 80 grand a month without having to move. And so that would be nice to have that consistency. I think you should do it in 2 stages though. I think you should move to something smaller and then go to something bigger down the line just to reduce the overhead. And that may mean being creative, okay? You know, anybody that's listing a property for 2 grand a month online will maybe take 1,500 for 1 year because their option is not get anything. So I think you should move is my short answer. I don't think you can afford 3 grand a month. And because let me put it to you this way. It's not, I didn't do my maths just because like there's some equation on what is acceptable. I did my maths on this. If you're prepared to spend 3 grand a month, but we can get it down to 1,500 a month, now I've got 1,500 a month to deploy onto Facebook ads, Google ads, another part-time admin assistant, right? It's just about redeploying that money somewhere smarter. And I think three grand is too much for where you are to be deployed on one thing being rent.
Yep.
So I would stage it out. I would stage it from where you are, hang on where you are until you're absolutely imploding, then jump to something smaller and then jump to something bigger. But I would say you should really get out of home, because at some point it'll drag on and it'll cost you a lot more money than it's saving. That doesn't really help you with an answer, except I think it's too much, and you got to go and find something smaller. In fact, here's an interesting thought while I've got you. I once was coaching a plumbing company. They had a team of, I think about 4 technicians and 1.5 office staff. I think that's where they were at. And they got a letter from council to say, sorry, can't operate from home anymore, 30 days to get out. And so they weren't really in a position to go and take on a factory. So what they did was they went and rented one of those Storage King places. Right? So they would, and so what, the owner of the business would drive to Storage King at 7 a.m., meet the team, that's where all the equipment was, right? Then he would set his team up and send them out. And that was costing $400 a month. Now, it got him out of the home and it got the boys away from the home, and it meant all the equipment was in one place. So it was a nice little half step to being able to then, they did that for about 18 months until they'd grown the business to the point where they could get their own factory. So I want you to hack at it. I want you to go a little bit slower and find some in-between steps.
Okay, sure.
Now, I want to give you a book, because we be generous down here at Business Greenhouse. I've got 3 books left, right? I've got a book called Grit, which is about deep down finding your passion. I've got the E-Myth, which is about systemizing a business, and I've got Seth Godin's book on This Is Marketing. Which one can I send you?
Can I have the systemizing a lot of stuff right now?
Of course you can. Of course you can.
Thank you very much.
Bless you heaps. Thanks for calling in. Chat with you soon. And Instagram. Appreciate you checking in Instagram. This is what we do here every Monday, every Thursday, 3 p.m. Queensland time, 4 p.m. New South Wales time. So for the rest of you who are on Facebook, we also got Instagram Live happening today, because why wouldn't you want more reach, right? Awareness and reach is the name of the game. So Insta, I appreciate you dialing in. And if you've got a question, put it in the comments below and we will reach out to you and get you on there. Mike Fabisiak, thanks for watching. Maddie Russell, you're a legend. Thank you. Nick Hind, you guys are great. Gina, thank you so much. All the way from Hanoi in Vietnam. Truly, this is a global ministry. We've had New Zealand, right? That's global, right? Vietnam. We had somebody calling in from the US. It's all good. All right. How are we going? Do we have any more questions? No? All right, if you've got a question, I'm going to hang out here a little bit longer. If you've got a question around business, faith, money, Bible, we talked about the Bible, we've looked at some things. If you've got a question, send us a message to Business Greenhouse. We will get you on the air, and I am going to help you with that. So if you've got that question, come on. Let's get that through here. Crystal, just finished your book, so good, on spiritual thinking. Thank you. That book is called Supernatural Thinking. And you can find that on the Business Greenhouse website. I've written 2 books, and this year I am going to write my 3rd book in 2019. I have Supernatural Business, Supernatural Thinking, and this year I'm going to write Supernatural Wealth. Yes, the world are really going to hate me, because I'm going to write a book about the fact that it's okay to be a Christian and make money as long as it's for other people. All right, Wayne, thank you so much. Appreciate you dialing in. That's so cool. Any questions are coming through? No? In the comments. Well, we don't want questions in comments. We want questions on the call-in show, which means you actually have to send us a message and one of my team reach out to you and get you on here. And remember, if you do that, I am going to buy you a book. I want to talk about something else for a little while, just to give you a chance to get a question through, right? We normally only run the show for 30 to 40 minutes, but I'm going to go over because I can. An interesting thing that I see from a lot of business people is this concept. Like, I'm always asking myself when I'm talking to people, what is their horizon in their mind? Because how far they're looking out into the future really allows me to get a handle on their decision-making process. What do I mean? I meet some people who their horizon, like as far out as they can see, is at their feet, right? And what happens is when you're like that, you spend your entire life in the weeds. You absolutely major on minors, right? The smallest decision sends you in a spin. And because there's so many of those small decisions, you end up foggy inside your head, and before you know it, you're going nowhere, spinning wheels and getting, no traction whatsoever. And then I see some people that their horizon is much further out. In fact, even up. They're looking at the summit, right? They're looking at where they want to go. And those people, that still does come with some issues, but the issues are much smaller. Because they're able to start to think through, okay, where's the revenue coming from? Where's my business growth in the next 90 days? Where's my business growth in the next 12 months? What growth am I chasing in a 24-month window? Okay, those big questions, when you're looking so much further up the chain, they are what drive you to move fast enough to win. When your horizon is right down and you're in the weeds, you may have to deal with, all right, I need to get my business cards and I'm not sure which shade of blue I should use. And that's a 3-week question, asking your friends, taking it to church, having your pastor pray over the 2 different blues, seeking a word from the Lord. It doesn't work, peeps. Speed wins. You got little decisions, you just make one, move on, make one, move on, make one, move on. That's how you win. Okay, so I'm suggesting shift your horizon out a little bit further. Stop thinking you have to be a billionaire by Friday. Stop thinking you have to build the business of your dreams in 2019. Start to put your horizon out a little bit further. And here's the question you want to be asking yourself. Here's the question that changed my life in many respects. When dealing with a decision, ask yourself, will this matter in 5 years' time? Will this matter in 5 years' time? If the answer is no, make a quick decision and move on. If the answer is yes, great, stay on that until you get a better answer. But I tell you, 80% of your decisions, the answer will be no, it won't matter in 5 years' time. It won't matter which supplier you use to provide paper to the office. It won't matter which business card printer you're going to use. It won't matter whether you buy your company shirts, in blue or light blue. It doesn't matter. Those decisions need to be fast. If you don't do them fast, you don't get the momentum and you won't get enough momentum to be able to push you to where you want to be. So shift your horizon out. Give yourself permission to think further down the line about the business you want to build and start to make decisions a lot faster. And then, my friends, you'll build a really good business. Man, that's getting a bit of a preach up in this place. All right, guys, that is the end of episode 17. We will chop this thing up. We'll drop it on Facebook. We're going to drop it on Facebook. We're going to drop it on Insta. We're going to drop it on YouTube. We're going to drop it on iTunes podcast and Stitcher podcast. By the way, if you are listening to this on Stitcher or iTunes, do me a favor, write a review. Right? Write a review of this podcast, this channel. Give me them 5 stars because I am selfish. I want more people to hear what is going on. You guys are a massive blessing to me. That is the end of episode 17. I'll catch you not on Monday because Monday is Straya Day, right? And it just would not be Strayan to work on Straya Day, right? So I'm taking the day off. I've got my family coming down. We're going to spend a day at the beach and that's going to be heaps of fun. So I'm going to be back soon with episode 18. Until then, love you heaps, bless you heaps. Thanks for watching. Share it up. I want more people to watch it. Bless you.